Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 222 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I don't know how many of you guys know what Toastmasters is, or maybe you're already members, but I joined Toastmasters. It's a club that teaches you how to be a good person, public speaker. And that's something I've always wanted to do and be. And so I joined, and I love it. I'm so glad I did. If you have been considering it, please do, because it's a lot of fun. But during one of my Toastmasters meetings recently, one of the members gave a speech on Self-Care 101, which you know I loved. But during the speech, she reminded us that they put those rumble strips on the side of the road. You know those bumps that on the interstate that if you veer over to the right or the left, you hit some bumps? Those are called rumble strips. But they don't put them there for annoyance or for decoration. They're there to wake you up. So if you happen to doze off, maybe you're a trucker and you've been driving a long time without sleep and you doze off, those rumble strips are there to wake you up. Now, this episode is dedicated to Andrea from my Toastmasters Club. You inspired me last week because it got me thinking about how we all have rumble strips in our life. But are we listening? Are we paying attention? Are we taking action on them? Maybe your relationship is strained, but it's easier just to ignore the signs and kind of just go with the flow. Maybe you're becoming more and more addicted to your phone and it's affecting your life, but it's harmless, right? Or maybe your pants are getting a little tighter, or there's a warning light on in your car. These are the rumble strips of life. But are they waking you up? Are you doing anything about it? So for me, my nutritional journey started because I was having problems with my joints and my hands. I know I talk about it a lot, but they would itch like crazy and swell. It was driving me nuts. But this was my body giving me a wake-up call, a rumble strip for my health, because that was not normal. And if I kept going down that path, it was just going to get worse. So I listened, and that led me to Dr. Osborne, who's a functional medicine nutritionist that I interviewed on episode 122, by the way. If you want to go listen to it, it was fascinating. But that led me on my path to eating healthy for my body. And now my hands don't itch or swell for the most part, and my joints are 90% better, all because that rumble strip woke me up. I didn't have to live with the pain and watch it get worse as long as I did something about it. I was also on a path where I got a little too focused on myself a few years ago, and part of that was my hormones were out of whack. But I wasn't happy, and I knew something was wrong. So I went and I had my hormones tested by Dr. Pearson. He's a hormone expert. I also interviewed Dr. Pearson on episode 63. So go listen to that. It's really good too. But because of that gut feeling that something wasn't right, I listened and found answers. Now, I have to admit, I let it go a little longer than I should have, and things were starting to go south in a few areas of my life. But had I started looking for help as soon as I knew there was a problem or noticed the signs and did something about them earlier, I wouldn't have had to suffer some of the things I did. Fortunately, though, it wasn't too late. But we all have an inner guidance system that's looking out for us. And it always knows what the best path is for us to take, and it's constantly giving us hints. Like, hey, maybe don't eat that. It makes us feel like crap. Or maybe we should get our drinking under control. Or there's a book that keeps popping up in your awareness. Maybe you should read it. Or listen to that podcast that your friend sent. Or it could be as simple as don't take the interstate today, a gut feeling, or to call your mom. These all may seem like inconsequential things, but that book may have the answer. That podcast may inspire you to change that thing that catapults your business. That club you joined might have someone in it that's the answer to your prayers for whatever reason. Where life gets hard and becomes no fun is when we ignore the signs that something needs to change. And the reason we feel bad is because we aren't progressing or we're not answering the call for that dream we have. We feel bad because we know something's off and we keep ignoring the signs. And the signs may be subtle at the beginning, like driving in your car and you're tired. Maybe you swerve a little and it kind of jolts you. But if it doesn't wake you up and you let it go too far, you're going to hit that row of rumble strips on the side of the interstate. And that is going to wake you up, and hopefully it isn't too late. My point is, those little hints that something needs to change, start listening to them. If you listen to them when they're little hints, then maybe they won't turn into big problems where you really need a wake-up call. Subscribe to that podcast you've been thinking about. Join that gym. Go to AA. Hire that coach. Start taking action on the subtle hints. You don't have to hit rock bottom to make a change. And I know therapy is a really good option. I think, like Dr. Attia says, I think we all need it at any given point. But if you have some undealt trauma, by all means get therapy. But if you've dealt with it, then a lot of times there is no need to go back and figure out where things went wrong. You could just start today, figuring out what's good and right today and how to move forward from there, right where you are. Abraham Hicks gave a really good example of this, I thought. She was talking about there was a couple driving using their new GPS system. And the husband says, I don't care what that GPS says. I personally know we're going in the complete wrong direction of where we're supposed to be going. Well, the wife who was driving, she was like, she wanted to figure out exactly what had happened. What had went wrong? What was wrong? So she said, okay, well, let's turn around and go back and start all over, and we'll see if I took a wrong turn or if the GPS put us on the wrong path. And that way we'll figure it all out where we went wrong. And the husband said, or we could just reboot the GPS from right where we are right now and get a fresh start headed in the right direction from this location. Duh, right? Sometimes we want to make things harder on ourselves by rehashing our past and thinking we need to go back and fix it all, when sometimes it's okay to just start fresh right where you are and move forward from there. When your gut tells you something's wrong, listen. It makes life so much more stressful and hard when you're constantly hitting those rumble strips to wake you up. And look, nothing's gone wrong. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And today can be the first day of the rest of your life. Decide right now. You're going to live intentionally. And when you notice you're picking up a bad habit, nip it before it gets too bad. If you feel like you're becoming too addicted to social media and your phone, you probably are. Be intentional about when you look at it. If your clothes are fitting tighter and tighter, it's probably time to look at your diet. It's way easier to lose 10 pounds than letting it get to 50. It's easier to lose 50 than it is before you get to 100. It's easier to cut back on alcohol now while you're still able to, rather than waiting until it causes real problems for you. And it's a lot easier to address a growing disconnect with your partner than to deal with a divorce. If you're hearing this episode, let it be your rumble strip, your wake-up call. And remember, you don't have to keep dragging the past up. You can start fresh from where you are right now. Just like the couple with the GPS. You are where you are. Move forward from there. No need to go back and figure out what went wrong 20 years ago. It's time to wake up and get things back under control where you're thriving instead of simply surviving. Share this episode with 3 people and hop over to Apple Podcasts and give me a 5-star rating if you loved it. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.